Now we're going to go to lubrication of the machine. Your trusty oil can full of 30 weight non-detergent oil. You can use 10W30 or whatever, but this machine was designed back in the late 1800s. They didn't have all these fancy oils they got now, so it was made to use 30 weight non-detergent. So before I start on that, Linotype machine principles. This is your Bible for this machine. There's one section, I don't know if you can see it, but it's black right here. Right in that area is a black section. If you open to that section, it tells you every oil point on the machine. There's several pages of oil points. Over 200 oil points on the machine. I'm not going to do every one of them this time, but I'm going to hit the majority of them that really need to be done all the time. Your machine might not have every oil point that's in this book. This machine will not. These oil points are made for the larger machines that have all of the oil points. So, Linotype machine principles. Get your copy today. You want a little bit of oil on your first elevator slide. Just right here. Then on the inside as well. You can put some on your finger and just kind of rub it on the inside edges. And that's for the slide up and down. That's what that does. Over here, you got a spot right there you want to put a little oil. And one spot right here. One spot down in here that you're not going to be able to see very well. And one spot over here you can't see. And that's for your assembler elevator to move up and down. There's an oil point here, an oil point here. Basically what you want to oil is any moving part on the machine. Right here is an oil point. Right here is an oil point. Down inside you have this mold disc dog, needs to have some oil on it. You pull this up, put a little oil on the shafts that raise your spaceband bar right there, right here. You can put a little bit right in here. That's for your slides to go back, your jaws to go back and forth. You want a little bit in this stud hole. A little bit in this stud hole. Right here on the clutch lever, a little bit there. This is one that you must get. That's an oil hole right there for your mold disc dog. I've gone into many places that this is turning very hard and you have to take the plate off, get the mold disc off, clean it all out. But that is an oil hole. You really need to hit that oil hole. Down here on the bottom, right in this area, there's an oil hole for your pot leg bushing. You'll see it better on this side. Right in here is where you want to squirt oil. Your pot leg bushings are right under this, and these are your adjustments for that. But there's a piece under there that rocks back and forth on a shaft. It needs the oil on it. Okay. Over on this side, you have an oil point right here. You have one back here. This is for the shaft that runs back and forth to turn your mold wheel. There's also one right in here. And here, same mechanism, that's for that whole shaft. Now over here, you've got one for your pot lever. One back here. There's one here. Now some of these have a cap on them. Some of them are buttons. This one, the cap's on it, but it's broken. You got one up here and one back up under here. Now, on top of their this rod right here, some of them have a hole in it, some do not. It depends on if somebody put it there, because I don't think they came with that hole. Right here, there's another oil button. Out here on the quarter, you have, if you have a quarter, you might not have a quarter. That's not in the book because this wasn't on most machines. You have one here, one here. There's one right here on this roller. There's one right there on this roller, and on the other side the same thing for this roller. See, you have one right here and here. Down here you've got several that's kind of hard to see. One right there. Again, all of these are in the book, so I recommend if you have a Linotype you get the book and use the book each time you oil it, and the more you use it, you'll find new ones each time that you missed before, but you'll sooner or later you'll get to remember all of them. If you don't, take some red or yellow fingernail polish or paint, and you can actually go through and paint, put a little dot of paint beside each one, make them much, much easier to see. Okay, this is one right here on that, and there's more down here on this bottom shaft that's hard to get to because this is so close to the wall, but I'll get to that one right there. Okay, now, oh, this one right here is also one. It's just a little hole right there. You want to shoot a little oil in that for this roller. Now, some of them have a grease fitting in here. This one does not. Now, while we're over here, there's a grease cup right here. I don't know if you can see that. But right here is a grease cup. And what you do is periodically, I'm unscrewing it at the moment to take it off so you can see what it looks like. Inside, you want to pack this with grease. And then when you go through and oil the machine, you give these grease cups, there's several on the machine, you give them about a half a turn, and that puts grease down in there. Some people replace those with Zerk fittings so they can use a grease gun. This one has not been done. Okay, right over here, this is also it's a hole right in the top of that nut, but that is an oil hole. So you just squirt a little hole in that oil in that. That's for your safety levers. Okay. Now this is debatable between people. There's a rail right here that your delivery slide runs in. I put a little oil in it. Some people swear up and down they want graphite in it. So whatever your preference is, as long as you get it lubricated, that's fine. There's also one right up here for this transfer. I again put a little oil in it on the bottom and the top. There's a groove that this runs in and a groove that this runs in. And so you want to lubricate that so they go smoothly. Same thing up here. There's a groove right here and a groove right there. And you want this to move back and forth smooth. Again, I prefer oil. Some people prefer graphite. So whatever your preference, just do it. Over on this side of machines, you have the grease cups that I was showing you on the other side. So you just a half a turn on that, a half a turn on that. And then way inside, there's another one right in there that's on the other end of this shaft. You want to make sure that gets turned. In the back here, all right in here, there's an oil button right there that you want to hit with a little bit of oil. And there's two more down below internal to the machine that are down below on shafts that run through the machine. So usually I use a flashlight to where I can see down in there and see them. There's also a roller right here. There's two rollers right side by side. They both need oil on them. There's an oil point for both of those right inside here. They're just real hard to see, so you need a oil can in one hand, a rag in the other hand, and in your third hand you need a flashlight. On this, there's also an oil hole if you have this attachment on your machine. There's an oil hole right here for this to turn. Now, there's several oil holes up on the top we're going to get to, but I got to get a different oil because they take keyboard and distributor oil up on the top. It's a lighter weight oil. Okay, I've changed to a different oil. This is keyboard and distributor oil, which is clock oil. Clock oil doesn't dry up on you. So, and it's very thin and very light. And the points I'm going to oil here on the keyboard, right over here on this side, there's an oil light bearing, which when you squirt oil in it, the bearing itself is porous and it soaks the oil in. Hence, you need the lighter oil. And that oil's the shaft that runs through. It's going to oil this point, and I'm going to oil this point over here. I cannot get to the back one on this side until we swing the keyboard out. This machine came with a swinging keyboard, so you could pull it out to get to the back and the front. We're going to do that later on in a different session on the keyboard. But right now, there's an oil point right here on the top of this shaft. Let me get my flashlight again so I can see it easier. Right on the top, right here, there's an oil point, a hole right here on the top of this piece. But there's a hole, so I just put a couple of drops of oil in that. Over on this other side, there's a corresponding hole on this side that you can see better. It's right here. There's a hole right there. And then on the back one back here, there's also another hole because you have two shafts on this machine for your cams. And that's the one I can't get to on this side, but we'll go over that a little bit more when I get to the keyboard itself and working on the keyboard. Now, up on the back of this, right here, there's an oil hole. It takes this keyboard oil. This is called keyboard and distributor oil. There's also right on top of this, where you're not going to be able to see, there's an oil hole right here. It takes this same lightweight oil. On this side, you have another spot right here. It takes this oil. And then down here on your distributor box, there's an oil spot right there. One on the other side. There's a little roller right up here that you put a little oil on. And then right in here it's hinged. You want a little bit of oil in there and a little bit of oil on the other side for that to work right. And then that's pretty much it for back here. Right in here, there's an oil hole right here that takes this oil. And another one back here. And these are for the ends of your distributor screw. That's what these oil holes are oiling up here. And they take the same lightweight oil. Right up here, you have an oil hole. Right there, there's an oil hole. And right down here, there's another oil hole. And these take your lightweight oil. There's also, on some machines, there's a screw right here that I put a little oil on, and one right here, because there has some movement to that, and some movement to this piece right here. And that's the main ones that you can get to. There are more, and just take the book, and you're going to have to get in there and find those, because they're in the bowels of the machine, and trying to get those on camera would be really hard.